Selekt focused factory tour for you today. We're going to be starting through in the main manufacturing floor, where we'll be looking at the CNC machines that we're using to make the casework for Selekt DSM. So come on through and we'll get started. So come on over so you can get a good view. Here we have 3 CNC machines. We have one 5-axis and we have 2 3-axis CNC machines. And it's these front 2 machines that we're using for all the Selekt DSM metalwork. So in the right one here, we are doing the sleeve for the Selekt DSM. So you can see here, this is an example of the sleeve metalwork. So this is a 5mm thick piece of aluminium. You can see here that we have cut out a piece of metal here to create a die so that we can get a really sharp fold. And this is actually being hand folded here in this area of the factory, which is different to what we do for other DSMs. And so the way it works in this machine, we're doing one whole side, first of all, in the 3-axis machine here, and we do that for a whole day. So we're running the same operation on the same machine to do the same side of metalwork a whole day, and then the next day we will flip this over, put it back into the machine, and we'll be able to do another operation on the second side of the metalwork. And that will give us the lovely slots that you can see on the Selekt DSM on the top of it. So it starts to take shape now that the second op has been done. Let me just flip this over for you. And there you go. And of course this will be reaching up towards the lovely Linn logo that we'll have on the top corner here. And I'll show you how we do that in just a few moments. So that is how the sleeve is working. On the second machine here, we're doing the base for Selekt DSM. So this is what the final piece looks like. You can see it's got a beautiful chamfered edge where the metal has just come away from the side there. And again, we're working on 2 sides. So for a full day, we'll work on the inner side, and then the second day, we'll turn it over and we'll do the second side there as well. This is slightly thicker than the aluminium we're using for the sleeve, so this is actually 8mm in comparison to the 5mm that we're using for the sleeve. And in here you can see the lovely grooves here, and this is the area where the cartridges will be, so you can see how they will fit in really nicely to the metalwork here. And you can also see around the edges we've got a nice little groove here, and that is so the Selekt sleeve will slide and fit in perfectly to the base. When we've finished with the metalwork, when we've finished drilling out all of the metal we don't need, which is all recycled of course, this is then washed. We're actually using Ivor's old dishwasher to wash the metalwork. So it's a 50-degree wash for 12 minutes to clean the metal, and then it is ready to be painted. But before painting, of course, we're pemming off all the important areas. We don't want any paint to get into these threads here, or of course into the grooves. So we're putting a special rubber cap on the grooves here and masking off with little stickers all of the threaded areas before painting. So we'll head downstairs now and we'll see where the paint plant is and also how we're doing the etching onto the product for the logo. So if you follow me. So over here, if anyone hasn't been here before, this is our service area. I'm sure you'll be familiar with some of the faces or the names in here anyway. Service here. And at the end of the tour, we'll come back and I'll show you where we're actually assembling the final product, okay? Okay, so this is the area of the factory known as metalwork. So we have several processes in here that I'm sure you'll be familiar with, but for this tour we're going to head straight to the back. I'll point out the paint plant and then we'll look at the new laser etching machine. Okay. Like I said, the metalwork has now already been washed in our trusty dishwasher upstairs, and now we're ready to paint the product. And we're painting the Selekt DSM slightly differently to how we would for other products, in that this time we're actually having two guns. So we've got a gun on either side that is spreading and spraying the powder paint onto the product before it is passed into the oven and cured. So we can see here the paint plant, and then once the paint has been cured onto the product, we will then use our new laser etching machine over here to put the logo onto the product. So come on and we'll have a look at this. So this is our brand new laser etching machine. Obviously a really good investment for the company, and we're hoping to be able to use it in a variety of ways in the future. But for now we're using it to apply the Linn logo onto the top of the sleeve of Selekt DSM. Our laser etching machine is working in the same way as an inkjet printer would, but instead of obviously adding dots of ink to the product, it's actually removing layers of paint to reveal the aluminium underneath, and that's what gives us the beautiful finish on these products. Okay, lovely new piece of equipment we have here, and now we'll head on upstairs and I'll show you where we assemble all our circuit boards and test them as well. Okay. So, welcome to board assembly and test. We're going to head up to the other end of this area so I can walk you through the process that we have here. So come on up this way. So, like I said, this is board assembly and test. So we actually assemble and compile all of the components onto all of our circuit boards in-house here. Now, I know a lot of you have been here before, but this area is actually brand new. So all of this machinery here we've only had for the past year or so, which was obviously a great investment for the company. And we've spent over £1.1 million on this area. And like I said as well, we've also got a new CNC machine next door that we saw. So it really has been a big investment in new technology for the company. We start off with a blank circuit board here, and it goes into our first machine here where we apply the solder paste onto all of the contact points on the board. It is then passed automatically onto our first pick and place machine here. Now, you can see from the components in the reels and the trolleys here just how small the components are. And this is one of the reasons we decided to invest in new machinery, because we'd had our previous machines for over 20 years, and obviously technology advances and changes a great deal in that time. So with these new machinery, we're able to work with much smaller components, which obviously gives our R&D engineers much more freedom when it comes to designing all our circuit boards. So the first machine here has two heads. Each head has 12 nozzles, so it can work with about 24 components at a time. And like I said, you can see how small the components are on the reels here. When we move up to the second machine, the components start to get just a little bit bigger. You can see that, it's quite visible. And this machine here now has one head, again with 12 nozzles, so it's able to work on one board this time. When the circuit board is finished in this machine, you can see it comes out the other side here, and this is the first time the operators in this area will actually be able to inspect the board and have a look and check that everything looks to be in the right place. If they're happy with that, they'll put it straight into our vapor phase oven here. So come on in and have a look. This works in a similar way to a sauna. So we place the circuit boards onto a metal tray. The tray is lowered into the machine, and inside the oven there is a liquid which boils at around 240 degrees. The solder paste melts at 215, so you can see in here that the liquid is boiling, and it allows us to melt the solder paste to place all of those components and solder them to the board. So up next, we want to check that all of our components are A, on the board in the first place, B, that they're on in the right orientation, that they're not standing up, that they're not on upside down, and to do that we have this machine here. And it works on a memory basis, so it has a photo of the perfect circuit board stored in its memory. And when we place a completed circuit board into this machine, it takes lots and lots of photographs of that circuit board and compares them to the photo that it has stored in its memory. Obviously, if it finds any errors, it'll flag those up, it'll indicate those to the operators here, and then it's their job to find that error and to fix it, basically. They're able to perform some corrective surgery. So you can see at their workstation here, they have their microscope, and they have a hand solder gun where they're able to fix any error components. Next up, we have over the back here a technology called pin through hole. So in this area we have the surface mount technology where it's being done automatically by the machines, and then we have surface mount over here where we have operators placing the larger components or the heavier components onto the board by hand. We of course still need to solder those, but we don't want to resolder the entire board, so we have selective solder machines here that know exactly where on the board the new components have been placed and therefore where it needs to be soldered. So you can see that happening on this machine here. You can see the camera, and it passes a jet of molten solder around the board to solder the remaining components. Now, up until this point, we have just trusted our suppliers to give us components that work. We've not actually tested them ourselves, but of course, we have to do that now before allowing the boards to go any further. So that is what we're doing in this area. If you come over, you'll be able to see the different test units we use here. Now, for every circuit board that we compile here, we have a different testing unit. And this will run a quick test, so it's microvolts, not a full power up or anything like that, but just enough to run through each of the components on the board and check that they're working as they should be. Now that we have our circuit boards all completed and good to go, we will head over into final assembly and see where the Selekt DSM is being put together. Welcome to final assembly. We've seen the CNC machines where the Selekt DSM metalwork is made. We have been down and seen how the lovely Linn logo is etched onto the product, and of course we've seen how the circuit boards are compiled. So the last thing to do, apart from have a listen, is of course see one being built. So we can see here we've got our lovely cartridge, which of course customers will be able to upgrade if they like. You can see the module in here, so we'll be able to change our DAC from non-catalyst to catalyst, and we'll be able to do a variety of things over time. You can see the lovely dial here, which has 100 points of LED lights to watch the volume increase as you go. And of course we have the lovely smart buttons along the front here as well, which are customizable, allowing customers to personalize their DSM. If we turn it over, we'll be able to see our 3 feet here with our lovely Linn logo underneath as well, and the beautiful metalwork here. And maybe we can just have a look at the back panel as well. So we can see all of our connectors down here. We've got our HDMI connector. So like you can see, there are very clear spaces here for cartridges to be added in the future should a customer want to upgrade at any point. Thank you very much. So I hope you've enjoyed finding out all about how Selekt is made and seeing the new machinery we've invested in to make the new product. Thank you very much for coming, and enjoy your new Selekt products.